Have you ever wondered how far family loyalty can go? Sometimes the greatest dangers lie not in the unknown, but in the people we trust most. In a world where love and loyalty are often blind, it is the silent suffering of the vulnerable that tells the truest stories of hidden darkness and unexpected strength. Join me on this unbelievable journey as we uncover the dark truths hidden in this African folktale. Late at night, when the entire village of Umueze lay silent, Ada lay awake, dreading the sound of footsteps creeping down the hall. She clutched her blanket, praying it was just a dream. But night after night, the door creaked open, and a familiar figure slipped into her room. This was someone who was supposed to protect her, but night after night, he secretly came into her room and shattered her innocence. Ada was in shambles, and nobody seemed to notice. Umueze was a close-knit village where everyone looked out for each other. It was the kind of place where neighbors shared everything: food, laughter, and even sorrow. Ada, a 13-year-old girl with a gentle smile and a deep love for her mother Nneka, had lost her father years ago. Life had been hard, but she and her mother had survived together. When Nneka remarried, the village celebrated. Ekene, her new husband, was well regarded, strong and resourceful. He brought stability and comfort to their home, giving Nneka the support she hadn't had in years. To the village, he was the perfect man. But as Ada's mother fell deeper into the comfort of her new life, Ada's nights grew darker. One night, Ada awoke to the sound of her room door creaking open. In the moonlight, she saw Ekene's shadow, tall and looming, slip quietly into her room. Terrified and frozen, she lay silent, hoping it was just a nightmare. But the shadow returned the next night, and the next, and the next again. Ada was just 13. She was innocent. She was living with her mother who was supposed to protect her. But her innocence was being forcefully stolen from her, night after night. He had threatened her, told her no one would believe her, even slapped her around a bit. He told her he would kill her mother if she talked. The more she struggled, the harder he went. This was hell. Why didn't her mother notice? Why? As days turned into weeks, Ada became withdrawn. Her smile faded, and she avoided her mother, spending long hours by the river alone. Nneka noticed her daughter's change but blamed it on teenage moods, unaware of the true terror that Ada was living through. Ada felt trapped, her fear isolating her from the one person she wanted to protect the most, her mother. In her heart, Ada knew her mother loved her, but she also knew the village revered Ekene. Who would believe a young girl's word over a respected man's? She carried the weight of her secret, praying for courage and for someone, anyone, to notice her silent cries for help. One night, Ada had a vivid dream. In the dream, her late grandmother, Mama Ngozi, appeared beside her bed, her figure bathed in a warm, comforting light. She placed a gentle hand on Ada's shoulder. "My child," Mama Ngozi said softly, her voice calm yet serious. "The truth can't stay hidden forever. Darkness flees from the light. Be brave and remember, I am with you, even when no one else believes. Remember, be brave." When Ada awoke, her grandmother's words echoed in her mind. With newfound courage, she decided to leave clues for her mother, hoping that Nneka would see them and understand. Ada began leaving subtle signs around the house, things only her mother would recognize. Small scratches on her bedpost, beads arranged in strange patterns on her pillow, and marks on her bedroom door. Nneka did notice the signs, and at first, she did not understand, but she could not forget them. To anyone else, they were meaningless, but to Nneka, they were signs that something was terribly wrong. One evening, Nneka noticed Ada's bedpost was chipped. That night, she also found tiny footprints of flour leading to Ada's door, as if someone had deliberately left a trail. Her worry grew, and she decided to stay awake that night, listening. That night, Nneka pretended to be fast asleep. And in the early hours, Nneka's heart pounded as she heard Ekene's footsteps moving quietly down the hall. When she dared to peep, she saw Ekene slipping into Ada's room. Her chest tightened with suspicion, but she still couldn't accept what her heart was telling her. How could Ekene, her husband, her comfort, be doing in her daughter's room so early in the morning? Any normal mother would have barged into that room and stopped Ekene. Any normal mother would be enraged, but Nneka was afraid. She refused to believe what was staring her in the face. So instead of storming her daughter's room, she stayed back. The next morning, when Ekene left the house, Nneka pulled Ada aside. "My child," she whispered, "what troubles you? Tell me, Ada, what was Ekene doing in your room this morning? I won't judge, I promise." But Ada looked away, her face hollow with fear. "Mama, please, let's not speak of it. I don't want to bring you pain." No matter how much she pressed, her daughter would not speak. Nneka's heart broke at her daughter's silence, and she was too cowardly to confront her husband. Desperate for answers, she went to the village priest, a wise man with a reputation for seeing the unseen. She explained her fears, leaving nothing out. The priest listened carefully, his expression darkening. "Sometimes the kindest face hides the cruel's heart," he said. "Tonight, do not sleep. Watch and trust what you see. And if you must, confront. You are your daughter's protector. That should be the most important thing to you." That night, Nneka pretended to be asleep, staying alert and listening to every sound. Hours passed until she heard Ekene's footsteps, slow and calculated, moving down the hall. Her heart raced as she followed him, staying out of sight. When she reached Ada's room, she opened the door slightly and froze. Ekene was standing over her daughter, his hand resting on her shoulder as she trembled. "Ada!" Nneka whispered, her voice breaking. Ekene spun around, a flash of shock and anger in his eyes. "What are you doing, Ekene?" she demanded, her voice rising. "How long has this been happening?" Ada was sobbing, while Ekene stood motionless. Nneka rushed to her daughter, hugged her and asked her, "Did he hurt you?" Ada nodded slowly and said, "Yes, Mama, he hurt me." Nneka glared at Ekene with anger in her eyes. Ekene stammered, reaching out to Nneka. "Nneka, you don't understand. She's lying. She's trying to come between us." But Nneka, seeing her daughter's frightened face, felt a surge of rage and protective love. She grabbed Ada's hand, pulling her from the room. Together they left the house, making their way to the chief's compound. The next morning, the entire village gathered. Ekene was called to face the elders. Whispers spread as Nneka recounted what she had witnessed, her voice shaking but strong. Ekene, desperate to clear his name, swore his innocence, insisting that Ada had misinterpreted his actions. But the villagers began to murmur, their faith in Ekene crumbling. Just then, one of the village women who lived next to Nneka stood up, a look of guilt on her face. "I saw things late at night," she admitted. "I heard strange noises. I thought I was imagining it, but maybe I was wrong." A ripple of shock passed through the crowd. The chief raised his hand and silence fell. Just as the chief prepared to sentence Ekene, Ada stepped forward, her small frame steady. "Wait," she said, her voice clear. "There's something else you should know." The crowd was silent. Ada took a deep breath, looking Ekene in the eyes. "I have something to say," she began, her voice low. "Ekene told me he would harm my mother if I didn't stay silent. He threatened to ruin our lives, saying no one would believe me. He took my virginity, and this is not the first time he is doing this." Gasp filled the air. Ekene's calm facade shattered as his true intentions were exposed. His plan had been to scare Ada into silence, controlling her through fear. But Ada, strengthened by her grandmother's spirit, had found courage to speak out. The villagers erupted in anger. The chief, disgusted, declared that Ekene would be cast out from the village, marked as an outcast for his evil. In the weeks that followed, Ada slowly began to heal, her laughter returning as she spent time with her mother and friends. Nneka, though scarred by the betrayal, became a fierce advocate for women and children in the village, speaking out against hidden abuse. Ekene's shameful story was shared as a warning to other families, reminding them to be vigilant and never ignore a child's fear. Ada grew into a strong young woman, her belief unbreakable, her story an inspiration to those who had suffered in silence. Nneka also became an advocate for women and girls in the village, warning others to stay vigilant and speak up. Mothers, please be vigilant, especially of your children's moods. As much as you can, do not trust anyone of the opposite sex, strangers and family alike, with your vulnerable children. What am I saying? Do not trust anyone, even those of the same sex as them. The world is very, very evil. Encourage your children to talk to you. Be their friend. Thankfully, light will always find its way through, but sometimes it might be late. Too late. Ada's courage, born of suffering, became a beacon for others to find their voices and shatter the darkness. Let this story be a warning and a hope. Thank you for listening. Like the video and make sure to subscribe for more folk tales like this one. God bless you.